Checking. What up? I had to reboot my stuff over here. So, original start time was 2:30. But had to do even more updates. It's asking me to restart again. I wonder if I should. I'll probably leave it now. I might leave it now. But holy smoke. Took a while. I don't want to disrupt that again. So let me see if my mic and everything is connected the way it should be. Check. All right. Let me see what this is like. All right. See what we're doing here. It's seeing a lot of updates as long as I could get through. That's basically what I'm concerned with. Oh, actually, we're not done. We are not done downloading stuff. But this is working. I just don't want to be interrupted later on. You know what that's like, right? Get started. If anybody taps in, then you gotta interrupt your shit. Thursday, people. Got over the hump. And there's some stuff definitely going on. Some current events, this, that, the other, you know. Yeah. And we're just going to go through a couple items. And yeah, I am a little earlier than I would be, but I missed yesterday. Well, you know, at least I try to do the Wednesdays. I thought Thursday would be okay. You know, I might try to do weekends. A couple times that I did do the weekends, had people tap on pretty quickly. And while I say that, I am going to post the little stream thingy, because you know I don't mind for the regulars that tap in and check stuff out and do all that good stuff too before I start hitting the points for today's podcast. You know, and as usual, we will try to do at least the hour or so. So as we are gearing up close to about 3 o'clock, well, you know, we'll see what 4 o'clock looks like. It's usually a thing of people find out you're podcasting a little late into the podcast and then tap in and then have a conversation. Some of the best conversations we've had is like an hour into the program, you know, which is all good, man. I'm getting good love from people, and I'm very happy for that. But if I can do the plug in here, please like, share, subscribe. You know, help me grow my little channel that I got going on over here, and spread the word. If you are regular, welcome back. Thank you for checking me out. If you're brand new, you know, look around a little bit. Done a few podcasts, some videos. Hopefully there's something in there that you would enjoy. You know, spend a couple minutes on, drop me a comment. all that good stuff. But most importantly, while we're grassrooting it here, please, man, drop me a subscribe, and I appreciate that. You know, yeah, Lord knows that you got your you got your number of platforms and shows and channels and all of that to go to do whatever it is that you do. So, that's all good. For whatever you choose to do too, man. And where should I start? This week I did last week's podcast, I put on, I like to do thumbnails and sort of play around. We talk about the one I got now. It's just the Jay-Z one from Reasonable Doubt. And we're going to touch on a little bit of that too, sort of the opinion, sort of what it looks like, what it might be shaping up to be too. And some of our opinions about that. And, of course, just having a little bit of fun with it, with, I guess, what you would call the pop culture of things and all of that good stuff, just to have a little sense of humor and, I guess, somewhat be relevant with it. So we're gonna get into all that stuff. Manuel, what is up? Good to see you again, my brother. Thank you for checking me out, man. Appreciate it. On this afternoon, Thursday afternoon, one day closer to the weekend. I had a couple appointments. I was out. So I was grabbing, I guess, yeah, you could say late lunch too. I just finished scarfing down some food. Tomorrow is Friday the 13th. So if you bring out your movies, I'm not superstitious. Not superstitious, just a little stitious. If you watch your movies, it's a good time to, have a movie-thon or whatever you have going on there too, man. So last week on my community page, I'm just going to do a quick digging in the crates because I'm not sure if we did that last week. So, but I thought it would be fun. Whatever I have in rotation, I have a lot more songs, and I'll even say genres, because lately I've been putting on a lot of hip hop and old school. It's what we tend to gravitate towards because that's the stuff we grew up on. And when I say old school, I'm not talking about when I listen to the radio. They're like, it's the old school hour, and I expect to hear some like Boogie Down or something from the early 90s or something, some backpack rap, and they're like 2013. I'm like, no, that's not old school. Old school is old school. What's that golden age of hip hop? Saying from the 80s, 85, 86 to like 95, something like that. It's the good old hip hop in there. Everything should drop back to that, the roots of that as well. But I don't know. If we're going to talk new hip hop and old hip hop and what music is now, I'm probably going to be a little out of that race, man, because it's just, I don't know what the hell is going on. And I got a coworker. He's a kid in his 20s. Always want to play me his music that he likes, and it's just this sound, this auto-tune shit. This stuff where I'm just like, yeah, kind of pretending I like it, but I don't really jive to it, man. I'm just like, all right, sure. It's kind of the way that it is with stuff. Get in there. But back to what I had. Excuse me, what I had on there. I had Stevie Wonder. I was digging in the crates of some Stevie Wonder. Steph, what up? And Stevie, what is the one that I played? There's this one that I was I was in a good mood. I should start with that, but I fell on the album of what I had on my thumbnail last week, which was I know what I named it now. Now I got to remember what the actual damn thing is called. Um, Music of My Mind. I think I labeled my thing the same thing as that, but on there is a song called Superwoman. But it's not just Superwoman, it's also Where Were You When I Needed You on there. So the song kind of transitions into that song. It's about a 7 or 8 minute track. And man, it is a good track. And if you're half tired and, you may or may not have smoked a little bit, it gets a real cerebral, guttural type feeling of that song. So if you could ever go back, but even looking back, I forgot this guy did an album every year from like 69 to 75 or 76 under Motown. And it just said, you know what? I wonder if it's worth, if I could find the page that I was on. They're just talking about it. So I could at least do what I do and give you his discography from this time up. He deserves it. He's a legend, right? He went through the whole thing. This is a man that performed at Michael Jackson's funeral too, man. So let me, with my poor typing skills, type this in here. And yeah, we could show some stuff here. All right. This is why we're doing this. I'm going to share the screen with you guys real quick. See what we get. See what we get. I still, if I've said it before, I gotta get a battery for my mouse. Double clicking, triple clicking. All right, let's see if this shared the way it's supposed to. There it is. Just a little checky check. So, actually, I wanted to do his albums to see where I got my little. I did a poll last week that all of my 3 people gave me their. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to start there and make you guys feel bad since we have time in here. Go to my little page. Let's share this page. Boom. Here's me. That's what you guys are watching right now. So I go to my community page. Yeah, what do we have here? We have Where the Real Fans At. You could only have one. So, of course, we have Music of My Mind, Hotter Than July. Oh, somebody chose Hotter Than July. And somebody chose option 3. Songs in the keys of whatever the heck it is. And I don't know. I kept finding I up till now, you know what? I don't even think I have a real number one choice of the one that I like. Yeah, definitely Emmanuel. He is he's a favorite because he's talented, and then finding out too that he played most of his instruments, in his studio sessions and stuff. And so back then, you didn't have all the musical technology and everything that they have now. So he really had to play. And, of course, I'm sure being blind, is an added, I was wondering, added, not pressure, but certain difficulties to it, certain obstacles around it. But I wondered with him being blind, if, they say your other senses are heightened. I wonder if it helped him, let's say, understand music more, but if it was more cerebral to him, if he maybe felt something that most of us or most musicians wouldn't be able to feel when in their composition of their music, did it do anything? So while I was looking into this and doing my little poll over here, I was looking at the songs that I actually liked, like really liked, and what albums they were from. If you didn't look back at it, you would say, well, a lot of it might be from the same album, or you put Stevie at a certain time, place, and that's about it. But he was really, first of all, it said that he was signed to Motown when he was like 11. or something like that. And I don't know if everybody's seen the Stevie clip of him, doing the harmonica clapping kind of deal. So he's been talented like that way back. And, maybe that was the 50s, early 60s, and he definitely blossomed with his independence in the 70s. They say that first one there where I have option one, Music of My Mind, is where Motown really gave him the independence to, and control of his own music. And that's where he was kind of like turning the leaf into adulthood, being a man and producing like more mature content, sort of like Michael Jackson's Off the Wall. All right, that was his first one. Yeah, you guys are going to correct me if I'm wrong or right there anyway. So, you could let me know. Right. So that was kind of like the first. And then actually between these two that I have here, Hotter Than July and Music of My Mind, he had about 2 or 3 albums that I want to try to, let me see. So let me see if I get a discography of him, songs, albums. Okay, so let's go over here. It has the years too. So let's see, match some of those up. So I'm blind over here. Bad choice of words. 1960 we have. That's not necessarily in order, but I was saying like 1960 over here. If that's correct. I see 2 released in 1972. Talking Book and Music of My Mind. So let's see if we can try to get something in order here. And yeah, 60, 72. Well, I'm going to go for the studio released, more popular ones that we know of. Because I know in between. So Songs of the Key, 76. I think between these 2 albums, if one was released in 74 or something, he was actually thinking of not singing anymore. And then Motown gave him like a super duper contract through some big money, what would be big money back then, and even, a decent chunk of change today. Creative control of his stuff and portions, big points of his albums that he would sell. So he decided to stay, and he kicked out a whole bunch of other albums too and stay with Motown. I believe Songs in the Key of Life signifies that moment where he decides to come back and do the songs and everything like that. So, all right, since I can't really get, I like, this isn't what I want to focus on today, but let's go through a couple things. So, Talking Book, 1972, and I think we have some big songs on this. So, hold on for a second. I just want to kind of see Hotter Than July. Oh, Hotter Than July was 1980. See, I'm messing up my years over here. So let's just go back to Talking Book for a second. See if it has You Are the Sunshine of My Life. You know that one. You and I got a bad big brother. Baby, Superstition is on that one. Of course, we know that one. It's been made by a couple other people. Up to date too. So, all right, that was 72. Wow. All right. Let's see. That was Talking Book. Intervisions. Now, by title alone, I might not recognize. Right. Living for the City. That was real. So, Stevie had a hot streak in the early 70s there, man. Higher Ground was on that one. Love is Fair. Don't You Worry About It. Okay, so he had a few on this one too. It seems like he was charting at least 3 songs per album for like 5 years, man. Good for you, Stevie. So we checked out this one. This is the one I had on my poll here, so let's check this one out. The ones that I did actually like. Sir Duke, as is the one that everybody likes. I mean, how could you not like that song? And if you don't remember it, I recommend you go back and check that out, man. It's just a feel good, I feel like Stevie Wonder is more summertime and fall time listening. Maybe springtime too. I'll put spring in there, but it's It's not for winter listening for some reason. I don't know. That's just what I feel about Steve. But all of it's still good. Still good, man. I want to, and then I did have this one. I always thought, although if I remember the sounds of this, I always thought that this was in the 70s. But if it's in 1980, I'll be damned. I just kind of thought it was earlier. All I Do, that one. Like You, Master Blaster was his Fox reggae one as well. So this was a really good one, man. And what year? I just want to make sure. So this was 1980, huh? And all right, that was enough. I think there was another one I liked. What album is Part-Time Lover? I like that one. Maybe that was Hotter Than. I mean, Part-Time. One, Do Something for Your Love. I love that song. But yeah, it's really hard tracking that down. Anyway, Digging in the Crates. Go check out Stevie Wonder if you haven't for a while. I can't even really recommend which album you should go check him out. Go check all the early 70s. Anything from 70 to 80. Go check those out, man. Definitely worth it. Definitely worth it, man. Stevie Wonder. So let's fast forward a little bit for now. Might as well get into it. Did I make a video on this one? Jay-Z accusations. So there's a few things. No, actually, I want to get into that CEO shooter thing, but we could wait. We could wait. Quickly about the Jay-Z stuff. I read. Let me go back to what I actually. I'm pretty sure I did a video. It's funny when you can't even remember days of the week what the hell you did. So yeah, I did do that. So he's being blamed, and let's just remember a few things. Like I said in my video too, let's not condemn anybody in the court of opinion just yet. We know how easy it is to drag people in times like this too, but not that he uses it as a shield, but yeah, he does have kids, in the game here and stuff. And if he did anything and he is guilty, he deserves anything he's got coming to him, of course. But especially with social media and information, and things seem to spread, and there are larger influences that some have over others. I am into due process. We've been made aware of the crime. Somebody called him out and actually went as far as bringing the allegations up in the court of law. One thing I found interesting was when he, I guess as the kids would say, clapped back at the allegations and whatnot. He did manage to say, well, why not go against me criminally and not a civil suit? I think suggesting that it even more so, it's a cash grab, right? Why not do the whole thing? And Jay-Z even flipped the script a little bit, attacking the lawyer, saying that, this lawyer has a history of going for big banks and extorting artists, and regardless of what you might think about certain trials, we know certain people like Michael Jackson had settled suits before, and it looked like it added to his guilt, when in fact it was maybe more like they were trying to get rid of an issue. I kind of think that's what it might be, but I know it could be a very volatile issue, and everybody has their own opinion on it. Everybody is entitled to their own opinion on it. So I don't even really get mad anymore when people say what they say. I know there's a couple people that I don't think I'll ever be able to convince about anything. One of them being Nappy Yankee. He's just funny when he goes off on a couple people. He goes off on Bill Cosby and Michael Jackson. He will never see the light in those cases, or you will never be able to convince that guy of anything different, which is great, man. If you have your opinion of something and that's what you think, then that's just That's just what you say. I'm going back to Emmanuel's comment over here. He says, "Man, you listen to Stevie year round, every day." I was listening to I Wish earlier this morning. Okay. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's winter, and I'm talking about him. So, if we're less than a month from the New Year and Christmas, yeah, I'll agree with that. I'll agree with that. I just came back up, and it was in rotation again. And there's certain songs that I got to listen all the way through when it comes on, and then it just led me to more Stevie stuff. So I'm glad that I reacquainted myself with Stevie again, and he has numerous writing credits. That's where I was hearing his voice again, because for some reason, Minnie Riperton was, making rounds in social media or whatever. I'm not sure if there was a bigger event with her, and he wrote a few of her songs. It was pretty influential in some of her productions too, and countless other people. Him, Smokey, him and Marvin Gaye crossed paths because, of course, they were all Motown people. So yeah, definitely. So back to the Jay-Z thing. Yeah, as I'm saying, let's not with anything, not just Jay-Z, because I was never a diehard Jay-Z fan. By that time, I grew up in the old school hip hop, so always Boogie Down Production, Public Enemy, those guys, anything from like the 80s. For a while, I moved over to the West Coast. I actually lived there for a bit, but even before that, I liked the music. I kind of like what they were doing. They had I don't want to say a birth, but they had a moment, because it also makes you remember, like, all those dudes. If you look at numbers in the West Coast, almost anybody outside of New York was kind of like the West Coast, and they were going platinum on everything, as where New Yorkers were kind of struggling because it was only in that, in those boroughs or around there is where they were selling big records and making big numbers. It was more that demographic over there, right? And everybody, because you had the South to consider, all those guys, wherever I travel, which in the South, Georgia people, Texas people, those are all big West Coast people, even though after a while they got their own Southern sound and all that, which is, hip hop has grown. You were able to tell, if you put on an artist back in the day, where they were from, because the music's alike. I think Dr. Dre said something about, and a few other people had agreed, producers agreed, that, you get one producer per project versus all these producers for every single track on your CD or what have you. Anyway, let's get back. I want to finish talking about Jay-Z and getting that out of the way. So anyway, everybody says the timing also with these things is kind of weird, but if we're trying to give this caller a victim for now the benefit of the doubt, and hoping that anybody who has a smaller platform or no platform at all has to make such an allegation, and it's such a David and Goliath stance, that they would be able to do that. And it obviously takes a lot of things that they would have to galvanize to be able to get to the point, to be able to make such allegations. So good if that is the case for her, that she is at a point where she could make proper allegations and whatnot, and get that done. But at the same time, if this is a money grab or anything like that, we're still going to have to see the due process. And Jay-Z has enough money that he could make an example out of anybody that does that. But I like the way that he's defending himself, that he came out. He finally did make a statement, and we just got to see where it goes from here. I think it's a shame, because I don't think these are the top of the pile dudes. I think they're part of a very sophisticated and powerful system that does these sort of things. And it's anything, man, like the Vatican, like the church, like they're the pecking order, they're just going on the fringes of things. They're not really going over the big problems and going over the big targets to really stop this sort of things. And I'm talking about like the larger implications, like the traffic. I've got to watch how I say things here. I realize that now. The trafficking and anything like that. One of the questions I raised in my video is, how does a 13-year-old get into one of those parties? How does she get there? How come she's not accountable to anybody being in the house at night? Who's her parents? There's a lot of questions that could be asked about that. What goes on in there. So, these are just questions. These aren't judgments. I should make a distinction. But these are things that I'm reading, and I start questioning. Like, well, what about this? So at the point where I am with that, if anybody's asking, I just need more information from Jay-Z's statement and just kind of like milling over some stuff. There's more questions than answers that are coming up at this point. So, when it gets to where it has to go, and those questions are finally answered properly, like they're supposed to in the court of law. I'm not going to be, how the internet is and diving down a rabbit hole. People keep diving down for answers that they want to find that support their theories and stuff. I don't want to do that. I want to read the actual factuals that come out, and do that, Manuel's saying, if you did it, hope, yeah, anybody, especially such horrible, you take the most vulnerable, and now when you realize that you have kids, and now you're like, oh, this is what I did. And that's really, as I'm going to try to use this as a segue over here too, for Joe Biden and his kids, and because that's what's in the news right now with Biden. He's got a list where he pardoned and commuted like a record number of sentences. They're saying record. I didn't really want to get all the numbers and stuff like that. So let me see if I could go by memory here of what it is that your buddy Joe Biden did. Oh, there he is. I'm going to read this article out here. Actually, let me drink some of my Gatorade here. So if you hang on for a minute, please. Oh. Much better. All right. Yeah. So let's get to your buddy, Joe Biden. And there's a lot. I know people feel a whole lot of different ways about this. Biden, his pardons, particularly with his son, and what it might mean for Mr. Trump, who is saying that they're saying he's going to pardon all those January 6th people. But we'll see when we get a little closer to that date what's going to happen over there. So let's look at a couple things. So going back to Biden, and just, I guess we know who this guy is. He's on his way out. For a minute, it looked like he was going to try to get a second term. I'm actually going to switch this over. Just checking CNN. Again, this isn't for opinion. This is just for the facts about his actions. So I don't lean this way. I don't lean this way. I lean into the way of facts. All right. So, you're never going to satisfy 100% of the people. That's why we have a couple different systems and stuff. And we have to realize that, that's just how that is. Just reading your question, Manuel. Did I read? Where the hell did that go? About Jay's Claiborne saying Biden should pardon Trump. No, but that is interesting. I want to read more into that. I wonder where he was going in with that. Yeah, let's go into this fool. So talking about losing respect, you can't help but even lose more respect for this guy. You can't help, a lot of people that are forced kind of into retirement and whatnot. You normally feel bad, and not necessarily our generation, more the generations before who worked the same job for like 30 years and stuff. And, obviously there were seismic shifts in ideologies and technology and newfound ways of processing information. We could see how people were forced out of the job, but besides Biden trying to act sort of like a maverick, coming into the presidency and challenging certain people's blackness and whatnot, as though he was really going to come in, take charge and change things and really be a man of the people. We got to say this dude was a little bit of a flop. I know I've stood on many panels and kind of interjected when people would go hard against Obama and stuff like that. Simply because I know there's more organizing that we have to do on our parts before we blame this person, that person, or wait for, the first person of color or black leader and then throw, 400 years of oppression for them to make a solution is not fair to that person as well. It's not fair that we ask more of certain individuals when you've let decades and centuries of other people slip past the radar and keep it status quo. And then when you get one of yours in there, you put them under the ringer. That's kind of the way I look at that too. But that's whole other discussions, perhaps maybe when things become a little more political or we something like that has to come up. But I was even on panels where I didn't agree with people who said when Obama came on and gave his speech about voting, they were like, don't wag your fingers at black men and blah, 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 blah. And he's not going to go up there and say anything that the party didn't want him to say or need him to say on the behalf of that party. They're numbers driven. They know who's doing what or who's not participating. So they need, they're not just getting up and saying whatever he feels like saying that day. There's supposed to be, and there is purpose in a lot of those as well. So Mr. Biden, I was going to go as far as trying to find his previous quotes and stuff that he has said about criminals in the past and calling them super predators and this, that, the other. And it makes me think of a couple things with him or anybody in general. If you think back in the 50s, you had Governor Wallace, the one whose famous quote is something like segregation now, segregation, blah, 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 segregation forever. He was just not with it. And I think he was part of that broadcast or around where they would accidentally, and I'm doing that in quotations, call Martin Luther King, Martin Luther Coon and stuff like that. But this is a guy who was a staunch separatist and white supremacist back in the days. And it was said that he renounced everything on his deathbed because he was taken care of by black nurses on his deathbed. Governor Wallace back in those days when he believed in segregation almost to his death. And I don't know, I almost see parallels here with Biden, not of being racist or anything, but because of how much he held on to his policies, how blindly he held on to his policies without reason. Here you have your son, and please understand, I'm not coming from a place of condemning anybody, any addiction problems, anything like that, because clearly this shows with however affluent you grow up with, no matter how many resources you grow up with, you could still become, and I'll say a victim, you could still become a victim to this thing called addiction in many, many facets, right? Whatever it is, addiction, compulsion, it could be substance, and it could be a mental illness, anything like that too. And whatever your beliefs are, if it's a disease or not a disease, nobody asks to get cancer or whatever. Well, nobody asks to have alcoholism. You could say no, or drugs, this, that, the other. But we can say that there is a very common thread between either you're very poor or you become very poor, or you're very rich. Somewhere those lines meet, of dependency, of hopelessness. If you look at Hunter Biden, he had everything you would want to walk the straight and narrow. He had, growing up, he had that, but still fell victim to these substances. And yes, he had the arms problems too. I'm trying to be a little cryptic there. The the Second Amendment problems he had, and some other stuff too. And I'm sure he's not a thug, nothing like that. The Bush kids were like that also. Even Donald Trump, the Jr., got into a little bit of trouble with stuff too. But we want to pretend that it's a class thing. No, we just condemn one side more than we condemn the other side, which is not fair. And it was Joe Biden's fervent and feverish pursuit of these so-called criminals and tough drug laws and everything like that makes him look like such a hypocrite today, when he pardons his son for the same things that he locked and supported many people up for. And that's what a lot of us have a problem with, is that sort of behavior. And quite frankly, with anybody who doesn't see the justice or doesn't see the compassion in something until it affects them or their own family. And again, this is what we're seeing with Joe Biden. It's like, well, why didn't you consider these people as son's daughter? Emmanuel, you said it, I believe, last week when we were talking about this, or one of the weeks, why didn't he see those people that he gave these frivolous sentences to as the same as these human beings, right? And that's really the way it should be, And I'm not even going to get into the other part of it, but, the other part is it's his son. It's his last, while he's becoming old, decrepit. His legacy's not probably how he envisioned it. This is not much more of a disappointment or score against his legacy, because it's already tarnished and probably as low as it's probably going to get on his way out of the White House. So here we go. I'm just kind of skip through a lot of these. President Joe Biden announced Thursday that he's commuting sentences of 1,500 individuals and pardoning 39 people convicted of non-violent crimes. So he's like a total of 180 from like 30, 40 years ago. It's amazing. Making a broad use of the presidential clemency power just weeks from the end of Biden's administration. White House officials are billing Thursday's move as the biggest single-day act of clemency in modern history. So this man, is this guilt? Is this guilt for his son? Is this guilt for him righting his wrongs? Perhaps. Perhaps it might be. Because he should have considered these things. Who was he? Not who was he caping for when he was making these policies? Who was his audience? Was he appeasing people like him? Appeasing people like him financially, demographically, politically? All of these. Sorry, I moved around a little bit. I think I was right here. White House officials are okay. Yeah. Before he leaves, weeks to come. Quote from Joe: America was built on the promise of possibility and second chances. Biden said in a statement released shortly after CNN reported early Thursday morning on the coming announcement. As president, I have the great privilege of extending mercy to people who have demonstrated remorse and rehabilitation, restoring opportunity for Americans to participate in daily life and contribute to their communities, and taking steps to remove the sentencing disparities for nonviolent offenders. Should have done that and could have done that decades ago. All right. Especially those convicted of drug offenses. They're the ones you put in there, Joe. I mean, even these guys getting out, you hope President Biden's not there. You give him the side eye walking out, like, you motherfucker. The nearly 1,500 individuals whose long sentences were being commuted Thursday were placed on home confinement during the COVID pandemic and were deemed to have demonstrated a clear commitment to rehabilitation. 39 people being pardoned were convicted of nonviolent crimes and considered to have demonstrated records of meaningful. You see, it's like even these individuals now that are getting pardoned or commuted have already experienced some sort of alternative rehabilitation, right? It almost shows the ones that have been selected after the COVID to be on this program of rehabilitation. It's as though they had answers, as though they had a path or a plan for rehabilitation as for why they were so successful in the first place, right? He's not taking the people that they threw in and threw away the key and not hearing, the thousands of people that, what the hell are those programs called? Like the Innocence Projects and stuff like that, Not these people, but people that have already been selected somehow and monitored and, quite frankly, supported to be able to do the right thing. And lo and behold, they come out doing the right thing. Amazing. So let's continue over here. They are individuals that have secured employment. Yeah, he put them out there. He gave them these chances. Treat them like human beings. You didn't put. You said they're nonviolent. You didn't put these nonviolents, and now that they're separated from the violent offenders, I can't put those names all on YouTube now, but you know the people I'm talking about, the degenerates that probably should be locked up, right there rubbing shoulders with, people that just fell on hard times or needed a break. And I know it's not all people, but it's obviously showing that the large majority that shouldn't be in there, for the nonviolent, that if there is some sort of alternative program, that the majority of society could benefit from that. All right. There are individuals that secure, advance their education being a factor, right? Familiar announcement. They include face incredible challenges in life, and they have really shown resilience. Dude, everything that I'd like to know who said damn near close to this in objection to when Biden and Hillary were making these what do they call it, super criminal claims back in those days. Like, if we gave them a chance, If we had these individuals, we gave them the opportunities to overcome, first of all, recognizing that they come from challenging positions in life. And that doesn't put you on the same playing field as everybody else. To do something, to be able to get that step up, to play in the game of life. Those things that they have to overcome. So early childhood programs and things that they withdraw funds from that actually help these children get a step up on life, they take away. Then they're going to blame a whole lot for doing these sort of things that they have to do. But it's showing you right now, right here, that they're saying, even through all these cases, these people have shown resilience, seeking to overcome these challenges, meaning they want to overcome these challenges. Whole thing is just making me upset to read. While CNN has not obtained the full list of names, this is one that's interesting here. Some of the people being pardoned in here: decorated military veteran described as having devoted much of his time to helping members of the community, including the sick and elderly. A nurse said to have helped natural disasters and was at the forefront of vaccination efforts during COVID, as well as an addiction counselor recognized for his dedication to mentoring young men of color. Isn't that great? Give me 1 second. Giving people a chance, but not only that, using what they've learned in their background to help people just like them. This is a win, not just for those guys, but it should be a win in the face of a government that tried to suppress these people and totally take them out of society altogether. Thursday's announcement is to widely be celebrated by human rights advocate, but don't give Joe the joy of him thinking it's all because of him. It's because he thought it was a good idea, right? Well, I missed what you were saying over here. I wonder if he let out any of the Black Power movement guys, right? I think there was one person in here that he was petitioning and advocating for farmers and indigenous rights, but let's see if they label this. I don't have a name. It's just something I read about it earlier. Let's see, Thursday announcements, but yeah, don't human rights people cheering. We're not cheering Joe Biden for compassion of this. This is like when people celebrate Abraham Lincoln. He wasn't necessarily an abolitionist, even though he freed the slaves. He wanted to beat the Confederates, and he knew that the slaves already would be able to do that with numbers because he was losing in the first place. It wasn't a noble act. It wasn't out of compassion, like these guys shouldn't be slaves anymore, or these guys shouldn't be locked up anymore. God, as I start thinking about it, the people in history who I'm aligning Joe Biden with are not great people throughout history, man. George Wallace and Abraham Lincoln. And I know I sit up here and you might be like, what, Abraham Lincoln, blah, blah, blah. But read the guy. He said, in paraphrasing a little bit, but damn near in plain English, said, if I could win this war and keep the slaves, I'd still keep the slaves. He basically said that. He wasn't for love and peace of everybody, Look into that. I don't know if I'll do a show about it, but we'll see how that goes. All right. I've seen Democrats, lawmakers, and families receiving the community. As president's first term approaches to an end, calls for Biden to more aggressively and widely exercise clemency powers for incoming, blah, 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 growing louder. I don't know if there's much. Biden has previously pardoned military vets convicted of having gay formerly crime under military law, and also issue. I didn't know they went to jail for that. Damn. And those convicted for marijuana possession. All right. Yeah. Still not impressed me, Joe. Thursday's news. Anita. Um, all right. I don't want to. I don't want to just read the whole thing, but that's about it with him. I don't know. Glad for those people, but again, this doesn't what my concern is with this is it doesn't signify any policy changes or anything like that. Like after this, nothing changed. It's kind of like the lottery. You got a few lucky people that are granted clemency from this, maybe able to enjoy some of their lives from acting out a mistake or some sort or a crime of necessity, but it's not going to change the policy of any of these things that put them in jail, in prison, and kept them in jail. So I can't really applaud this act for Joe. Again, every president sort of does this on the way out, but it doesn't look good for him because he doesn't really have a winning record or even much. Forget the winning record. He doesn't have a fighting record. And I don't like dumping on people that are in power like that. And just because the popular people or people like to jump on popular opinion without giving people a chance and be like, well, he didn't do this, that, whatever. Joe and Kamala and all this sort of stuff. I'm not even going as far as all that. I'm just saying a lot of flash at the beginning, very lack of substance on the way out. And I don't know. I might even go as far as saying failed presidency. Manuel says he should change some of the drug laws on his. Yeah. This doesn't do it for me. I'm sorry. We could. What you're doing, you're cheering. If you're doing any cheering at all or for support, you're cheering individuals that are lucky to get out of the hold of the system or any confinement that they were in the first place. You're not cheering Biden for doing anything great or courageous, So yeah, all right, Joe. That's how you do your thing. That's how you do your thing. But good for you. That's basically it on Mr. Joe over there. And we talked about some Jay-Z stuff. Of course we have to. It's been going on in the news. I don't think I did a video. I think I meant to do a video. While I'm on here, let me see if this is should be on here. CNN. This doofus. Am I showing this on here? I don't even feel like this should be getting a whole bunch of play on here. This guy, I'll tell you what I think about him in just a minute. And person I'm talking about is I'm unquoting alleged suspect killer of the CEO of United Health in New York, I believe. So if I got to do a little bit of background on this fool, let me do a little background and then we'll get into it. I'm just like, because part of what I see with this guy as I, begin to talk about him, this attempt at sensationalism. And he actually has some kind of a following too, which is even more concerning. Let me just take a drink of my. Got a big Gatorade that's almost over. All right, so this kid. I'm just going to try to do an overall and not try to get in too deep and kind of where it stands here from now. Right? And before I do, what are you saying? We got alien drones and the side being toppled in Syria. That, you know what? I should hit a little bit of that Syria stuff. Maybe after this, see how much time we got. I don't know if I have much to add to that particular conversation because what's going to happen now? Anyway, let me just finish this up. Bu- 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 Let me sort of see what the CNN article's saying, and I'll try to. So we know last week we got some footage of a gentleman in a hoodie, looked like a targeted attack towards a person out in the busy, luxurious area there in New York, leaving a hotel. Person was shot and killed as they were continuing their business for the night. Manhunt went on the way for a person that they couldn't necessarily identify, but perhaps they could because they saw a portion of his face when he pulled down his mask to converse with a woman. Forgot where that place was. I always thought it was in a bank or something like that, the way that they showed, but rookie mistake, dude. And if you see this photo of him here, he looked like a pretty good looking kid, from his photos. It's funny how you present yourself on social media and stuff, to what reality is. Because you look at this, you're like, damn, he's just had a rough few hours, which he probably has. But even the women that I work with, like, oh, he's a good looking guy. They believed on his look alone that he couldn't be guilty of what he was accused of. And I was going along with him. I was like, oh, this kid, he looks like he has the whole world's, to face. And he looked like a good kid, It's funny. Somebody put a picture of him and Anne Hathaway together, smiling. One of his smiley pictures. They damn near look like siblings. All right. So this manhunt went on its way to find who was the shooter in this situation. No real clues. As a matter of fact, when they thought it was the guy, they weren't sure because he even had different clothes. He had a different hoodie, and I believe even the bag was different too. If this murder shows that people are getting tired of classroom, right. I want to get to a little bit of this in a minute, but I still don't think he's a martyr or anything in this. To me, he kind of seems like an idealistic kid who maybe went down the rabbit hole. He was reading the Ted Kaczynski, or the better wise known as the Unabomber manifesto. This is kind of what you're reading for guidance and whatnot. And it's tough. All right. So let me just go back before we even get to this point over here. So they start to zone in on this kid because they believe from surveillance, a couple of the things lined up, they finally had a face to who was under this hoodie, this kid, and started drawing connections. As they're doing this, is this, no, it's not who. As they're doing this, they are uncovering, or information is starting to surface about this CEO called Brian Thompson. I wonder if I just read this, if it's going to do what I'm trying to do poorly over here. Mark casings on the assassination gun matched the gun found on the suspect. His fingerprints matched some key items investigators found nearby. And he was arrested this week after going silent from his mom and friends for a month with a fake ID and the handwritten claim of responsibility referencing the crime site. All right. These details and others were shared by law enforcement and people who now suspect Luigi Mangione. It's Italian. There's the American way of saying it. There's the Italian way. I don't know. Have been mounting, but I'm just going to call him Luigi. Mounting since last week, the daylight killing of the United. I got to stop saying those words on here. United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson on a busy sidewalk in Midtown Manhattan. After a 5-day multi-state manhunt, I just want to catch up to where I was on here. It's now charged in the case of the M word after a tip led to him at McDonald's. He got caught in McDonald's, for crying out loud. That's the one that really trips me out. And he, what we know from his reaction, he didn't even think he could be caught. Weird. The whole thing's weird. I know where you're going, Emmanuel, but it's also like a lot of it seems amateuric as well. If you really plan to do this, if you really had your convictions, like a lot of little things just seem like, dude, were you planning on doing this today? Anyway, okay. Again, just trying to catch up to, I tried to freestyle a little bit, but so I'm going to try to go back and kind of read to catch up to what I was saying. So they start finding out that the CEO is horrible. Horrible acts of things, horrible business-wise, like embezzlement. It's not, it's so bad, as a matter of fact, anything or any business that had anything to do with him began to scrub any of the information they had about him off their websites, off of any information that they may have had about this guy, right? Which started to galvanize and while collecting people in support of Luigi. Because now people are thinking like, oh, he's doing something righteous, this, that, the other. I kind of, let me put a wedge in that for just a minute. Try to think about those actions that if this is a bad guy, did he deserve that on the spot assassination? And like so many people could have gone down like that in history. What if, Diddy goes to trial, find out that he's all guilty and whatnot, before he even gets there or brought down for the crime or whatever the case is, he gets assassinated in the street. What do we do? What do we know? So this is part of us being in a first world society that we can't do things like this. And I can't believe I have believed in revolutions and revolutionaries, causes and stuff like that. But I don't think America lends itself, especially today, to acts like this, where we start applauding this kid who, and 26 isn't that young, but in terms of life and experiences of an affluent kid, it's not that old either. He went to Penn State. He was a Ivy League kid, grew up well, had these, and I'm not sure of the medical reasons why he had to get his back surgery and stuff like that too. Said he had a couple screws in his back, very painful, all of that. I'm not sure if it was a matter of not being able to obtain resources or anything like that made him finally act out and maybe frustrated. And again, has he experienced anything in the healthcare system that people who weren't so affluent had to experience at all without his particular resources? Come he wasn't such a soldier before before Obamacare or anything like that. But anyway, let me go back and again try to catch up to what I was trying to say here. So all the sites scrubbed information about this guy when his information started to surface and whatnot. So a lot of people started to rally around this kid. And I do think it's just more social media stuff. Like people need to sensationalize things like this as well, because it's what's happening now. Excuse me. So he was eventually caught in a McDonald's. Not only just caught in McDonald's, not only just caught from lowering his mask to talk to a woman. I think a woman. I don't know. There's been some questions about all of that and his dealings too, which I don't really care about. But rookie mistake, dude. He could have left the country. He could have been in Mexico. Nobody knew who this guy was. He goes to McDonald's, which, all right, go to McDonald's, but he's hanging out in there. The McDonald's employee, who for some reason now may not be eligible for the reward money, guy recognizes him, calls the authorities. I think it was about $60K. And what the hell? It says right on the poster. Any information you get that leads to arrests, you get the money. Well, what better info? Hey, he's right here in McDonald's right now. Do you wanna pick this up? Right? I heard. Yeah. Dude. So Emmanuel put, if you're just listening, I heard the McDonald's employee that turned him in is catching hell. I heard the same shit. I heard the same thing too. And what are we trying to do? What are we really trying to do? You know, we're trying to support this nonsense because it could lead to very bad things. You know, so not only is he catching hell, Emmanuel, but he might not even get the money that they said he was entitled to get. Tell me that's not crazy. So just changing it up a little bit over here. So he may not even be entitled to get the money that he's supposed to get. And yeah, that could lead to all the questions that you need to ask. Like, is it even right? Is it even worth trying to do the right thing? And like, they tell you this person could be armed, dangerous, all that sort of stuff. And then you do the thing. You do the thing that they ask you to do as a citizen and get him. But you know what? Those same people that are giving him hell wouldn't do shit to try to litigate or do anything other than put a like in their social media to provoke any sort of change in society. So, but I think those are the people that are giving him hell, so to speak. People that are maybe vicariously living through his protest, that don't have a realistic view of anything like that, you know, and that's just the way that's going to be, you know. Yeah, definitely. No good deed goes unpunished, for sure. That's exactly what that is. I'd be pissed, dude. I'd be pissed. You're working at McDonald's. You're good, noble job. You're doing what you got to do. You know, earning that paycheck. That's almost like winning the lottery. Watching a lottery ticket coming through the door and being like, "Oh shit." You know, I'm sure you have that moment of consciousness. Even if dude was a dirtbag, the CEO was a dirtbag, you can't let a fugitive go on the run like that, right? So he probably weighed all that shit. I think it was an older gentleman who probably just been through it, like, probably saw him like some kid, like, nah, kid, I gotta turn you in here. And, oh, there's a reward. He probably already saw himself on vacation on a beach somewhere. It's cold in the north right now, the northeast. He probably saw all that shit. And nothing. So let's see what what else is going on. Those lawyers. Am I in the right place? Shit. Blah blah blah. Experts take a look at that. Challenge it. Still, New York governor expects an indictment to be issued any day now. And second it happens, I am issuing a warrant for extradition. Oh, right. That was the other thing. They need to extradite him over here to where the murder happened, right? Isn't that weird? It's like a few hours away. They got to do all that as though he's in a different country with different laws and stuff. Feels like the evidence is very compelling. Morning, Joe. I trust the DA here to maintain. Trust the DA in Manhattan to make sure that they put forth an indictment that is going to be ironclad. All right, whoop-de-whoop-de-doo. I don't know. I find. I'll tell you in a minute. Just let me see if I get any more information from this. Meanwhile, son pressed by the hero status. Okay, yes. I'm not even trying to say that name. Hochul. Meanwhile, Hochul is unimpressed by the folk hero status. Say the other thing that Mangione Luigi has attained on social media as the killing of Thompson, a husband and a father of two, had laid bare many Americans' fury towards the healthcare industry. See, he can't be the face of. They can't make him a hero of anything, especially if it comes from his own personal experience. He's not really fighting on, because if he didn't have the back problems or anything like that, he wouldn't be. He wouldn't really care about this issue. Of course, it's my opinion. I don't know that for sure, but one of the theories of what galvanized his mental state was going through the system and whatnot, and however he managed to hurt his back. That was from his roommate that was telling that story. Luigi appears to have been driven. This might answer what I was just saying here. Luigi appears to have been driven by anger against the industry and corporate greed as a whole, states a New York Police Department intelligence report that also warns online rhetoric could signal an elevated threat facing executives in their near term. Now, I remember seeing something in the news about CEOs, basically saying CEOs are shook after this. And as much as I don't want to lean towards any folk hero status, my thinking towards that was, well, they should be on their toes because they work for the people. Anybody that works for the people, what that feeling is not fair. It's a sense of responsibility that they should feel. Like every decision, am I doing what's right by the clients, for the people that actually, it's not for rich people. People that have these policies because they can't afford the whole thing on their own. So with that in mind, your responsibility is to those people who really depend on these premiums, on these fees, on these policies that they pay monthly for, that they got to stretch their check, buy a little less groceries so that all the premiums and everything are paid, so that in case, because you never go when things are great, in case an emergency happens, in case you absolutely need it, it's there. It works for you like it's supposed to work for you. Right? All right. Let's see. With my anger. The horrific attack occurred on our streets. I don't know about horrific. It is a horrific act, but we're talking about the streets of New York over here. New York, Chicago, all these places. They got shootings, all right? Now, let's not act like America's this pro-Second Amendment place is so... gun violence is so foreign to it. You know, this is what I hate about this. If you're going to bring that up, bring it up everywhere. Let's be realistic. You cannot assassinate an individual on the streets of New York. I do agree that. I just agree with anything this might suggest in favor of lone wolf or justice in my own hands sort of deal. Other than because we have people go back to the Biden thing who have been locked up for decades for things they didn't do, or nonviolent things, or things that they should have never even been behind bars for. You think if they get out, or when they get out, if they decided to take the law in their own hands to get revenge, however they see fit, that would be accepted? No, they're, this one's against the healthcare system, and you'd have to be like, no, well, this one's against the private prison industry, so it makes it okay to assassinate this person. Could be the very own Joe Biden who created the policies. Would we be a folk hero to us then? So you're definitely not going to get the same treatment down the line, and it shouldn't even be considered like that also, right? So let's see how we're doing on time over here. Hour and a half. I think we might call it at about maybe go till 4:30. I don't know. See how much more material I got and what I'm doing. Certainly getting into a lot of stuff. So what Emmanuel's saying, they work for corporations and shareholders. They put profit over. And they're complicit in murder. They did. Pull the trigger. They damn sure provided the gun. Yeah, damn. You said a whole lot there, man, Emmanuel. The whole profit over people. Because I think our society, that's our society. It's separating, even though it's such a thin line from between, rich and poor, or our status allows us to live in somewhat illusion. Somebody does a crime, they go to jail, they go to prisons. Where do they build the prisons? Way the fuck out. On an island, way the hell out in the middle of the country somewhere where you don't even have to think about crimes. I was explaining to somebody, it's very much like the bathroom. You go to the bathroom, you do a number one, you do a number two, you flush the toilet. You don't have to be bothered with it. It's junk. It goes wherever the hell it goes. You don't even have to bother your mind with it. That's kind of the society that we are part of. We don't have to worry about anything negative, bad, smelly, whatever the deal is. You don't care where, after you put your garbage down the chute, wherever it goes wherever the hell it needs to go. I don't know. Don't bother me. It's not in my life over there. And I think perhaps it's the same thing with the CEOs and these people who do put the policy over the people. They're so out of touch. And then again, I'll bring Biden into this conversation again, because all this shit that he did to people and families, look at his son. Right under his nose the whole time. Had he known, or his son been subjected to the same punishment and same crippling system that he threw other people under, yeah, you would have thought of a different way, alternative ways to deal with it. And these people that you're pardoning and granting clemency to today, and however many people will be before you leave office, right? Yeah, they're complicit because they're getting paid well, right? Yeah, and they don't care. They don't care whose grandmama is getting it, whose brother, sister, son, daughter. It reminds me. Remember that movie, John Q, with Denzel Washington? He held the hospital hostage so that his son could get the proper care. That's kind of what this is. Finish up the rest of this here. Here's a couple interesting things. So here, back to the article. See right there in the title. I'm not trying to read all this. I'm just doing a little scan. Suspect hasn't spoken to mother since July. So probably 25, 26 around that time, till he was found Monday in Altoona, Pennsylvania. Luigi has gone quiet for at least a few people, he's been close with. We know all that stuff. Ivy League, social media. So he had maintained an active social media presence for years, posting small photos from his travels, weightlifting routine. He stopped doing that up to the day. Luigi's mother had reported him missing November the 18th, so 2 weeks before. And they say he was in New York at least a month before that offing the CEO guy there. Law enforcement, official brief, blah, 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 blah. She called police in San Francisco where he knew her son had been living. Authorities called his phone. And not that I care, but it did come up if this guy was straight or gay or whatever, and this may have been a reason why he was on the run or some of these places. Just as I see San Francisco and all that, I'm not saying it makes you kill anybody. I'm just saying it's another point of this story that, again, might make him a folk hero to some, make him more interesting to others, but kind of another thing about this story that, well, you could see that in I guess a young man's life, beyond being his complication of things and probably finding his way in the world, kind of another factor he had to live with and figure out with all this stuff too. His mom had no reason to believe his son was in danger to himself or others. She told San Francisco, blah, 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 blah. Spoken since July 1st. That's a lot. That's a lot of time, July 1st. For a 20-something-year-old not to speak to your mom, man. He worked remotely at TrueCar. I don't know what TrueCar is. Is that like a Lyft or something? She also said where the phone was disconnected and offices closed. How was he supporting himself all that time? Especially with no ID. But all right. Doesn't seem like he posted anything. So what do you guys call it in social media? It went dark. It went dark in social media. Posts were addressed to his blah, blah, blah. Some friends have been trying to get in touch with him in July. User tweeted him, haven't heard from you in months, urging him to let him know if he could honor the commitments he had made, something away. So, I mean, it's always easier to look at things in the rear view and whatnot, but kind of looks like he's slowly withdrawing himself from the situation, which they say, when you are, let me say this, John Q and Edward Norton's insurance. Oh, yeah, that's right. Forgot about that. I got to go back and check that speech. They say when people are becoming more recluse like that, that depression and things are brewing. I know he's done a little manifesto and stuff, but this is, while he's in a certain mindset, I really wonder what he will sound like a few months from now when he sits down with one of these guys and does a interview and what he has to say with that. But these things where he's been missing and not in contact with his mother this summer. I understand a few weeks when I was busy in college, barely talking to people. But clearly, if seasons are changing and you have commitments like weddings and stuff like that, you might want to dig in a little further. But again, in a busy life and busy society, we tend to be like, oh, okay, you're not doing that. Fine, I'll do something else. He appeared in the courthouse, shackles on hands and feet, orange jumpsuit. He yelled in part, completely out of touch, and an insult to the intelligence of the American people. It's lived experience. There's a few things you might want to make out of that, but again, I'm not trying to make this kid any sort of spokesperson or hero, as they say. He's irritated, agitated about what's happening to him and what he's being accused of. He never had any legal representation until he walked into that building yesterday, and I talked to him. Look at the difference between when he went in and when he came out. Now he has a spokesperson, someone that's going to fight for him. Whoop-de-doo. Suspects linked to fingerprints on gun. Oh yeah, I know it was like an hour ago, but I was saying that when he was in McDonald's, if we could just go back there for a quick second, and the guy called him out and all that, he had the gun. He still had the gun. What was even more interesting and people should be concerned about, it was one of those 3D printed guns too. Obviously works quite the hell well. But in all that time, 5 days, he stayed in a few 100-mile radius of the crime. Took his mask off to smile at some broad. Fucking goes to McDonald's, gets a freaking Happy Meal to eat like regular people. All with the evidence in his bag. Well, now, if that doesn't speak amateur or maybe not fully seasoned into what he was trying to do, I mean, I don't know what does speak to that, you know. I thought I read somewhere that he lives some sort of co-op or commune. Okay, perhaps could see that. I don't know if that is quite called living on the lam, you know, somewhere between couch surfing and off the grid living sort of deal. But I mean, he looked quite properly manicured, good haircut, friggin', you know, groomed, all that kind of stuff. You don't really get that from not having the finances to do whatever you're trying to do. So I don't know. I don't know. And of course, if he was doing electronic purchases and all that stuff, they would be able to catch him. You know, what the hell do you call that? A pattern. Sorry, lots of words when I do this. You know, locations where he spent the money and all that kind of stuff to be able to catch up with him or get a trail of his activities of all that time too, right? So, like fingerprints on guns, blah, 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 forensic match, physical evidence, tying Luigi to the killings. We got the gun in question from Pennsylvania. It's now to put it in the NYPD crime lab. Commissioner, blah, 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 matched. Okay, so they matched the weapon to the casings found in Midtown. See, he didn't pick that up. A 3D printed gun was in his possession when he was arrested Monday, police have said. The 3 9mm shell casings had the words delay, deny, depose. Oh, I didn't know that till now. So in some of the chat rooms and stuff, and chat rooms or whatever on the postings, they kept putting those words in there. And okay, that's where that comes from. See, that part I didn't know. Deny, delay, deny, depose. Now, that sounds very specific. If you're a victim of, or what you believe, if you're the victim of healthcare, you know, written on them on one word per bullet. Law enforcement sources sorry, fuck that up. Police have been looking into whether those words, which match the title of a 2010 book critiquing the insurance industry, may point to the motive in the offing. Authorities also have been probing DNA material and partial fingerprints from the discarded Starbucks water bottle. Of course, oh, criminal. You can't be on the lab drinking Starbucks. All right. Bottle and an energy bar wrapper. Surveillance images showed the suspect buying about 30 minutes before the shooting. Luigi's fingerprints were confirmed as a match. Why, if you're keeping the weapon, why not? You're just going to toss these things out? Yeah, and then what I'm saying, an ideal, if I'm saying, it seems amateuric and all that sort of stuff, it seems like a younger kid mentality of being angry, and this is the way that you're doing this sort of deal. He could have been like next Michael Moore, exposing the system, bringing it to a broader audience that way. I don't know, but was this planning, partial planning? Was this more done in a rage of things? I know certain things indicate that there was a plan with it, but other things are indicating that there's some haste, right? Along with Prince, ballistics investigating, examining writings. Okay, he's had his writing. 3-page handwritten claim of responsibility. It did not include specific threats, but indicate ill will towards corporate America. New York police officer, detective, it said. New Healthcare was holding investors conference. All right. So yes, there was some planning. I'm not saying there wasn't complete planning. Obviously had to wait outside, and that's what he was there for. Mentioned in writings. I feel like anybody who isn't following this, like I'm boring you to death, but it became a little more interesting. And I'm not going to be spending a whole lot of time with this in the future. So I just hope to kind of read this, get it out of the way. And if there's any follow-ups, then I'll put some follow-ups down. But this is what they have. They have the guy. Seems like they have the right guy. So let it go through, the process over here. I'm just going to skim through some of this a little bit. Included to-do lists to facilitate, blah, 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 blah. The Unabomber, which I mentioned, some of the stuff went through there too. Intended digging. That was the other thing. If there's more people, he appeared to view the targeting offing as company's highest ranking representative as a symbolic takedown and a direct challenge to its alleged corruption in power games, asserting in his note, he is the first to face it with such brutal honesty, says the NYPD. All right. I don't know. You can feel however you feel about this. And again, I draw parallels with Biden on this, which is we should have compassion for all issues. Make sure that everything's fair for everybody, not necessarily a class, or if you have to experience those hardships yourself and then you actually care about it, or the people that you've oppressed and suppressed don't look so crazy. It looks like the case. This is the case in a lot of these things too. I don't know. It's tough. It's tough to be young and idealistic, and this is not only the healthcare system. This is a lot of things that you take for granted, institutions that you take for granted every day. Not even take for granted, but you assume the system works because sometimes you have no choice but to buy into it, into society, right? And Lord knows when you need it, or people aren't doing what you believe or bought into they're supposed to be doing, it could rock your very foundation. You don't know what you're going to be doing. You don't know what it leads you to in many of these cases. But I don't know. Even with a lot of these cases, I'll say what I've been saying, which is my hope is that the legal system works, go through the process. Unfortunately, my honest opinion with this guy is that there won't be such a ripple effect for his actions. This is very big in his life. It's very big in the other lives that he's affected and whatnot. But if we draw it down to, are there going to be any policy changes? Are there going to be revamping of CEOs and corporations that deal with people? Are they going to restructure those profits over people, to help and benefit people like they should be? Or, after a while, after this dies down, is it going to be business as usual? People going to continue to get screwed, not really be able to have a voice and whatnot. Maybe they'll think twice because of this. A long time ago, even Martin Luther King had said so, that the U.S. is a 10-day nation. This is going on now, and this is without social media. Whatever the hype is now, whatever the concern is now, whatever the martyrdom now, whatever the noble act is now, at least 10 days from now, it won't be. There'll be another thing. We'll barely follow this guy after a while, unless Netflix is going to do some sort of investigative, what do they call it, docuseries or anything like that. This guy's he's going to sit in jail. He's not, maybe in his mind, he thinks the people are going to bail him out. It's going to get a judge that's like, you did a good thing, and this is going to play in part for his movie, and the judge will say, sentence to time already served, and be able to walk out. But this is reality. There's many before you. Don't think this is any revelation in the American judicial system. It is made to extinguish fires like this that uprise against the system. So don't think that this is going to go a Hollywood way, and he's gonna get a pardon for fighting against the system or anything like that. They're gonna make sure, and especially being this young and this sensationalized, that they will make an example that there are no copycats of this sort of behavior. Because, like the quotation said, you can't go around assassinating people you don't agree with to take down or speak truth to power in the middle of the streets in downtown New York or any other downtowns for that matter. Whew, so that's a lot. I fear the last two. It depends on what the current events are, man. I don't want to be too grim with a lot of these things, especially leading in. We are going to do some fun stuff leading into the holidays and whatnot. I actually put down that I wanted to discuss some movies and stuff, but I think I'm going to push that over for the next couple of podcasts. So I guess I'll make the notice right here. I want to concentrate on, there's a Christmas movie, actually not even just a Christmas movie or story. That's one of my all-time favorites in life, is actually Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol. And I'll get into reasons why that is. It's not for the feel-good Scrooge, Merry Christmas, it's not even for that. That is a grim-ass story, in case you don't know. And I kind of want to get into that and other adaptations that I like of that as well. And of course, while we like our horror movies and stuff, I think it's a good time to get into some Christmas horror selections and suggestions. So I definitely want to do that. Maybe I think we got like 2 weeks left. Jeez, man. 2 weeks left for Christmas. And then say bye to 2024. This is it. Because after people taking time off of work, you're going to start going to your Christmas parties, this, that, bye. 2024 is over. Start saying hello to 2025 already. Jeez, that went fast. But I think I'm going to set up. So I'm going to start selecting at least 5. I don't know. I'll try to remember how I did a couple of the Halloween stuff. And try to have a few of those suggestions and maybe go through some horror. I don't want to be all corny and go for the classic Halloween stuff. One classic Halloween story is what I got for you guys, and that's the Christmas Carol one, and why I like the Christmas Carol is my equivalent to A Night of the Living Dead. And in terms of it being classic literature writing and filmmaking on top of that too. So, we'll get into that, and I'll have my suggestions and all that stuff too. And we will do that. Going to try Wednesdays still until maybe I get a weekend spot. But, I've done Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays for the weekly podcast. It's comfortable enough today, which means I would have missed yesterday for it being Wednesday. So it obviously is Thursday today. And then a little earlier than I would go because I was off of work too. And I was like, let me jump on, do this thing, have it out there. And, so I could complete my weekly tasks. So if you are new, appreciate you checking me out. Do me a favor as I close out over here. Subscribe for me to my little channel so we could start our growing and doing things. I thank you, anybody, for coming back. Emmanuel, definitely appreciate you, man, and your contributions and your thoughts to the subjects and everything that I bring up here as well, man. Good to see you. Hope you continue on coming out and having these conversations as well. Steph in the vest, thank you for being there and checking me out too. And anybody else, if anybody's in the clouds listening, I know people are going to be busy for the next couple of weeks. I'm going to try to be constant once a week here, doing my thing. Again, if you are new, or even if you're not and you missed a few of the podcasts, check them out. Give me some comments, if you will, to any of the material that I put out there. Pose questions, suggestions, anything that you think you'd like me to cover, anything that you would like me to put out there, and I'll definitely try to do that. It's good. Appreciate that, Emmanuel. No, thank you for being part of this, man. Definitely appreciate that. And for the rest of you guys, please like, share, subscribe. Go through all the other stuff. And hopefully look for the notices, what have you, and I will see you in the future. Thanks for being a part of this. Have a good rest of the week. Never know when I'm going to do a pop-up either. I might try to incorporate a few of those. Tomorrow is Friday the 13th. Do whatever you got to do. Be safe. If you're superstitious or just a little stitious, be safe out there. Watch a scary movie. Get ready for the holidays. I'm going to buy my first thing of eggnog. A little splash of eggnog. A whole bunch of rum. All right, folks. Enjoy the rest of the week, man.